Bad news this morning for hundreds of thousands of people in West Virginia whose drinking water was contaminated by a chemical spill.
A chemical spill contaminated the water supply to more than 100,000 customers. That includes homes, businesses, even hospitals.
People are unable to use water for anything. That means no showering, no shaving, no morning coffee, and no idea just how much longer it'll take.
Crowds filled stores in West Virginia Thursday night, stocking up on everything from water to ice. Demand for the items so high, shelves were wiped clean.
Everybody's wanting water. There is no water, and that brings concern.
I got a buggy full of ice up here, so it'll turn into water. But I mean, you can't live without water.
Authorities say 7,500 gallons of a toxic chemical used to process coal leaked into the Elk River on Thursday from Freedom Industries, a company just upstream from a water treatment plant. The toxic spill poisoning the water that serves 300,000 people.
Never realize how much you need water until you don't have water.
In Eugenie Taylor's home, she put socks on the faucets to remind her 3 children not to use the water.
Government agencies continue to monitor contamination levels. State officials say it could be soon that the water is safe for some daily chores, but they can't pinpoint when.
It just makes you wonder how long have we really been drinking this water and bathing in it anyway?
The water is out. There is no water. Do not use your water.
When we don't have water, it creates a serious situation.
People need to advocate for their community and for safety in their community, no matter what it is.
When I first found out about the water leak, I was actually in Ripley working for the day, and it was on Twitter. I just checked briefly, and there was a proclamation from Governor Tomblin that said, do not use the water in Charleston. And that was really kind of the gist of it. I didn't know what else to expect, and I was just looking for more answers, as everybody was, I'm sure, but it was just kind of a panic thing, thinking that the water is out. There is no water. Do not use your water.
You know, those first few hours, it was the afternoon whenever the story was breaking from other outlets. And my colleague and I, Ashton, we sort of picked up and tried to gather as much information as we could at that point. It was clear almost immediately that no one was prepared for something like that to happen.
It's pretty hard to live long in West Virginia and not appreciate how much it rains. And so water is a prevalent feature in the state of West Virginia. And certainly some of its most remarkable places are its rivers. When we think about places like the New River or the Gauley River or the Cranberry River. Then when we couple that with some of the major river systems like the Monongahela River and the Kanawha River, places where historic conduits of coal and steel and major economic drivers in terms of industry development along the canal. So rivers are a huge component of the West Virginia landscape. The rivers are essential in power production and the production of steam that ultimately produces the electricity. And depends on the facility, but some facilities are more efficient than others. But the typical ratio that people look at is it takes about 80 pounds of water for every pound of coal to produce electricity. And so it's a major asset in our state and a resource for a lot of different industrial sectors.
This was not handled well, in my opinion, at multiple levels. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact we were in uncharted territory. Some of it, I think, of our own making, some of it not. This was a chemical that we knew about and had been a part of the coal industry and the cleaning process for a number of years, but had not been studied very extensively. So we didn't have a lot of information from the scientific community to start with to know, what are the effects? What are the potential hazards? What should we be telling people? And not just as the media, but what should the Department of Public Health be telling people? What should the water company be telling people? And so there was a scrambling at the beginning to just gather information to share. I think people need to advocate for their community and for safety in their community, no matter what it is. But when it comes to something as essential as water, know what's going into the water. Know how your water is processed. Understand what potential hazards there are along the waterways which feed your particular system. People didn't know. And they couldn't or didn't feel like they could trust those in positions of authority to tell them accurately what those things were. We learned through this process that there really hadn't been an oversight process for above ground storage facilities in West Virginia. And the tank bill, which turned into a law, is a step in the right direction to ensuring that there is proper oversight and continued maintenance of those facilities that hopefully will keep something like this from happening again.
We have to be protective of that water because so much of our state, so much of our businesses, our economy depends on it. It is not just people who care about the environment. They care about the environment because of its value to the people that live here.